Isn't that right before you? Yeah. Okay. That's supposed to be. Oh, hello. Welcome to welcome to Metron Live. I'm looking for meditation music and I can't seem to find it. I do like the song though. Maybe the. Welcome to Metron Live. Today is Sunday, June the 14th. It's what? Today's Flag Day?
Yes.
All right. Well, good. All right. I must not supposed to be getting music. That's not working. Thank you for being here. And those of you who are logged on at home, welcome. I do have a really good word for you today. And I think I'd kind of like to just go ahead and get into it. I think everybody's met everybody, and welcome to our home, into the Metron Live studio. Spirit of God, we're always in your presence. Where can we go from your presence? On days like today, we're even more cognizant of the fact that God is here. God is real. God is an ever-present help in time of trouble. We are in the presence of God. We are in the presence of one another. Without music, let's just do about 3 really good breaths, and I'm just going to go ahead and get into my teaching this morning. I want you just to relax and be present. You made it here today. Those of you who are logged on, you logged on. We're going to inhale and hold it, and then out through the mouth. Let's go in. Let's go out. Let yourself relax. Inhale. And exhale. Give me a couple more good ones. In. Fill up your lungs. And then out. One more good one. In. And out. I am blessed. I am a blessing. I am present. I am presence. I am healthy. I am health. I am well. I am wellness. I am free. I am freedom. I am blessed. I am a blessing. I am. Beautiful. Tell the person next to you there's nobody I'd rather sit next to this morning than you. And I really mean it. I speak into this atmosphere and I say, let there be light. Last Sunday I started a series and I based it on Ephesians, 2nd chapter, when Paul said, we have been, or actually it says he made us sit with him in heavenly places. I talked about the fact that when you sit down, sitting down after a task means what? I've finished it. I've accomplished it. We're not trying to get to heaven. We're from heaven. We are in heavenly places. My actual title is Seated in Heavenly Places, Manifesting the Joy of Cell Vibration in the Higher Dimensions. And I don't want to get ahead of myself on this because I want to give this in a sequence. But it's interesting how a word gets distilled in my heart. I've just learned this over the years that, you know, like we don't cook. I mean, Ken can cook, but we don't cook. I mean, yes, we are a same-sex married couple, but somehow we did not get the entertaining gene. We can decorate a house. We make your house look fantastic. We can't feed you. Yesterday, he worked in the yard, and we did a bunch of stuff around here. And my teacher, who I'm friends with now, who now just insists, she said, if you call me Miss Moffat one more time. And I said, all right, Lou. I've said Miss Moffat since 1973, but I'm trying to say Louisa. But I said, we want to have you and Leland out to the house. She said, oh, yeah, we would love that. So yesterday, he said, we need to have Louisa out. And I said, I know. He said, what would we feed them? I said, what did you finally decide we could?
No, I said I go to Metro and order 4 pieces of salmon.
Anyway, my point is, from what I hear that cooks do, you go to a store and you go in different parts of the store and different things that are on different aisles end up in the same meal. Yeah. You know what I mean? You get something out of the produce section, you get something out of the frozen section, you get something out of the meat department. There's stuff all over the store. It all ends up in one meal, and that's why I don't study for sermons. That's not how it works. I know. Why are you laughing? Because you know I don't. Why? What's so funny?
Sometimes I say, you got to go get your lessons done.
Yeah. Don't come out of that room till you get a word. Yeah. I remember years ago, back when the church was big, and back then, we didn't just do Wednesday night. We did several variations. For a while, we did like a Saturday night service and Sunday morning. We always had 2 Sunday morning services. At one point, we had 3, and I was still traveling, doing a meeting out of state, probably about once a month, and I did a radio show. I mean, it was not out of the norm for me to preach maybe 16 times in a week. And I was, this friend of mine, it was his 40th birthday, I think, and he flew all of his friends over the years into Dallas. That was his gift. He wanted people he had known who were part of his journey. So he put me in a room with this guy who's an Episcopal priest. So I'm talking to this guy at night, and he said, how many times do you preach in a week? I said, I don't, anywhere from 14, 15. I said, I have done 20 times in a week. And he said, my God. He said, he said, I do one 30-minute homily once a week, and I work on that the entire week. He said, how do you come up with that much material? I said, well, you just go where the anointing is. And he said, what? I said, never mind. My point is, I've learned that when a word gets in my heart, so sometimes it'll come from a song. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and there'll just be a scripture. It's just something that I can tell, oh, there's something there. And you know, last week, I'm going to show you this verse in Psalm in a minute. Last week I talked about this concept of fullness of joy. In quantum physics, they talk about vibrating in the highest levels. Tomato, it's the same thing. It's the heavenly places. It's the highest place. It's your highest self. It's your best life. It's all of that. And I talked about things that Jesus said last week, where he said, these things I've spoken to you, that my joy might remain in you and that your joy might be full. Fullness of joy. That's where my head was at last week. Or he said, you've not done this before, but now ask the Father in my name that you may receive that your joy might be full. So I've been I knew that's where this series was going. Like, it's not just enough to have joy, but to have fullness of joy. Fullness of joy means you're fully present in the moment. It's not, you're not saying, oh, you know what, this would have been great if so-and-so had been here today, or if this thing hadn't. You know, I don't know if you ever had an event, you did a wedding, you did a party, you did a something, and somebody did something that kind of just ruined it a little bit. You go, man, why did you have to do that today? You didn't have fullness of joy because they were a distraction. Y'all feel me on that? So I was thinking about that a lot. You know, what does that mean? How do you vibrate at the optimum level, the fullness of joy, where you recognize you are seated, you have been made to sit with him in heavenly places, in the highest, the utmost part of your joy. I'm going to tell you something. I believe abundant life is attainable. I don't think it's a platitude that Jesus talked about. I think you can enjoy your life, and you're supposed to enjoy your life. And I mean, enjoy the heck out of it. Fullness of joy. So all this week, I've been, this scripture is just, I guess because that's what I was thinking about. It's Psalm 16:11. You know what? I'm going to do it in sequence, and I was going to tell you why I'm going to talk about this today, but let me keep it in sequence. In Psalm 16, this is the way it says it in the King James Version. It says, "Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy, and there are at thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore." Three things. It's like when David wrote this, it's nearly like a perfect sermon outline. It's three things. Let me give you the first thing, and then I'll get to. I'll tell. The second thing is the real thing I want to tell you. All right. So the first thing is, he says, "You will show me the path of life." Your life is supposed to have a path. It's supposed to have some meaning. I think a lot of times that path is actually cyclical. I don't think the path goes necessarily in a straight line. Sometimes I think the Israelites go around Sinai for 40 years until they learn how to respond. Joshua, it says, after 40 years in the wilderness, whether this was literal or not is immaterial to me. After 40 years of the wilderness, it says they finally make it to the promised land. And it says Jericho, the city of Jericho is, King James says it's straitly shut up, means it's impenetrable. It says nobody went out, nobody could come in. In other words, it looked exactly like it looked 4 decades earlier. How long ago was 40 years? 40 years was that, 1986? Think about where you were, what you looked like in 1986. You're nearly like a different person than you were in 1986, right? So it says they get to Jericho, and it could be one of those things where, I don't know if you've ever been trying to follow a path. This probably wouldn't happen now with GPS, but you're trying to find something and you pass something, you think, oh crap, I'm going in a circle. I already passed that gas station. This isn't good. And sometimes GPS can mess you up. I remember one time trying to go to Howie's house, and however his was situated, it was like I was being punked. It kept like, turn left here, and I'm like, where is this house? I mean, I kept going around the block. For some reason, it wouldn't. Anyway, it's very frustrating to realize your path is cyclical. So it says after 40 years, wouldn't you think there'd be this big sign that says, congratulations, you made it. Welcome to the promised land. And it's like, nope, looks just like it did in 1986. Womp, womp. And then the only time I remember seeing an exclamation point in the 1611 version, it says, see, exclamation point, I have given you the city. It's a trick question. Because if you go, what you talking about, Willis? What do you mean you've given me the city? It looks like it looked in 1986. And the point is, last time you guys were here, 10 of you gave a negative report and it cost you 40 years in the wilderness. Now you're here, what are you going to say? And that's when you're like, I got to be very careful how I see this and how I say this. Because if I look at it and go, man, what was those 40 years about? Well, what a big waste. This is what I'm saying, all that to say this. What's another word for age? As you mature, it's a natural inclination to start kind of taking inventory of your life and where you are and kind of looking back and saying, why am I here? Is this where I wanted to be? And it's also easy to say, shoot, if I just hadn't done that, or if I had done that, I would have been in such a different place. If I just hadn't taken that job, if I just hadn't dated that person, if I just hadn't, I knew not to buy that thing and I did. And you know what happens? It keeps your joy from being full. So when he says, you will show me the path of life, you know what I think, what my interpretation is? You will help me make sense of the path of life. Because baby, you got to keep going around that cyclical path until you can finally look at it and say, yes, I see it. I'm on my path. I'm exactly where I need to be. Is that what I'm supposed to say? Like, yes, exactly. Trying to make sense. You know, why did I make these decisions? Why did I make these choices? Well, this is effective. You know, I would have been insane if I just hadn't, like, if I waited 5 minutes, that car wouldn't have hit me, and it started off this whole chain reaction. That you can have that thought a million times, like the shoulda, coulda, woulda. How would this thing have played out differently if I had just chosen differently? If I just, and then you get in this thing. I've done it before where I beat myself up, like, dude, you knew better than that. Why did you do it? You knew everything in every bell and whistle in my spirit was going, don't. Danger, Will Robinson, don't do it. And I just walked right into it. And it's so easy to say, things would have been so much better if I just hadn't done that, if I just hadn't married that person, if I just hadn't gone out with that person, if I just taken that, if I just finished that degree, and you can drive yourself crazy with all the ifs. So what I see in this is if fullness of joy is the goal, you're going to have to understand your path. You will show me the path of life, and you will help me make it make sense. The second thing, and this is the main thing, it says, Psalm 16:11, you will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. All right. So I've been thinking about that all week. I woke up, I think, Monday of this week. And as soon as I woke up, a lot of times the first thing that I hear in my spirit, I can tell that's the voice. That's what I call the Holy Spirit. And it's kind of like, sometimes I feel like, you know, God's like, is he up yet? You know, like, okay, he's up. All right, let's talk. And it's not like he has to, I mean, I get up early now. What are you laughing at? I was up earlier than you this morning. So when I woke up, that scripture came, in your presence is fullness of joy. I've thought of it all week. In your presence, you know. One day I do my 11:11s from here every day. And one day I talked about, you know, in his presence, fullness of joy. And the thing is, we're always in his presence, we're just not always aware of it. So I thought, well, that's where I'm going with that. But it still is like, no, something's still not, that's not it. It's like a riddle. It's an enigma. It's a mystery to be solved. Why can't I get this phrase out of my spirit? In his presence is fullness of joy. I'm not just talking about vibrating at the highest level. I'm talking about cell vibration. I believe your joy is supposed to be so real that it affects your life. It affects how you age. It affects your physical response to disease. It affects things like depression, like all anxiety. Anxiety is a real thing. Like last night we got home, I got real invested in the Knicks. I'm not even an NBA fan, but it's a long story, but I got invested in this thing, and I do love New York. And the other night, you know, it's like such a great testament that, you know, they haven't won a championship in 53 years. Like, just talking about a lost cause. And then they got in this amazing winning streak, and it looked like they were going. And then the president came and sat in one of their games and brought weird energy, and it was like, womp, womp, and they lost. I'm not saying it was his fault, but it was his fault. And, you know, the guy that was the beautiful voice, this guy that's from The Wiz that sang the national anthem, you couldn't even hear. They were booing Trump so loudly you couldn't even hear his song. And I was like, oh man, I must hate that for that guy. But then the next night they did the miraculous. But I thought, good Lord, is this what sports fans deal with? Like, this is I've got to take an extra dosage of my blood pressure medicine. Like, we're into the end. Are they going to lose? Like, no, they're going to win. And then the Spurs, they score again. I'm like, oh my God, I got too much into it. So last night, I really wanted to see that game, because last night it wasn't the make or break, but I knew if they won the fifth game, they would win. And I'm like, why do I care about this so much? But that game the other night, there was like 13 sermons in that. It's like, it's never too late, never give up. Even the fact that they just won by 1 point. BJ, hit that, put it back on high, please. See, it starts to get warm in here. I know y'all think it's not warm, it's warm to me. It says, I've got it on low cool, put it on high cool. Yes, I put it on high cool. If you don't like it, bring a parka. Thank you. So, much better. The fact they won by 1 point, that's like, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, like, it doesn't take a lot. I mean, I thought I could do a whole series out of this one game. So I got really into, we went to Reggie and Sonia's 40th wedding anniversary last night, and I said, it's good I love Reggie and Sonia, and they've hung with me all these years, because I could stay home and watch this game. I mean, the fact that I'm here means I love these people, and I do, but we got home in time to see a little bit of it, and it was another nail biter. When we got in, he'd already turned the TV on, and the Spurs were ahead by a good bit. It didn't look good. I thought, here we go again. Why are y'all doing this to me? I could already feel my anxiety level just when he said that. And by the end of it, because they ended up winning, but just, I mean, skin of their teeth again. We were trying to sit on the bed and watch it, and then I'm like standing up in front of the TV, like, dear God, but, and the clock's running down. I'm like, if these 8 seconds don't, I swear, if they lose this thing after all, I know it's not just about me, but it feels like it's about me. I feel like I put a lot of energy into this thing. You guys better win. And they did. And then I couldn't sleep. I was so jazzed about it. But the point is, that kind of anxiety is fine. That's not a killer. But you can't live in that every day. And so last night, we some of us were talking, um, and I was thinking about, there's a running monologue in my head all the time. Like when I'm talking to you, and when that stops, I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about next. It's like I am the message. You know what I mean? It's like I don't study for a sermon. I live it out, and it gets tested in my life during the week. Like, you really want to talk about this? Because if you're going to talk it, you got to walk it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to walk it. I don't think it's God testing me. I just think it's your knowledge. You have revelation. You have to take it to the laboratory and see if this works. And that's why, if anybody ever, I don't hear this a lot, but if anybody ever said to me, wow, you talk about yourself too much, I'm like, it's not self-aggrandizement. It's I'm trying to make sure this is real before I tell you about it.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to try this recipe in my kitchen before I give it to you. And to me, it's a labor of love. It's like I'm not throwing a sermon at you. I'm like, no, this is the gospel according to me, so that you can hear it and you can write the gospel according to you, right? So we're sitting there, we're just making some conversation last night, and Avery just told this story. Years ago, Ernie and Avery, when they were at Church of the Now, the acronym for Church of the Now is CITM. And they rescued a kitten from a storm drain there, right? And they ended up taking the kitten home, and they named the cat Kitten as CITN, like if you pronounced it that way. And that was 21 years ago, and Kitten just crossed the Rainbow Bridge this week. And 21, that's a long life for a cat. And I knew about it. They said, they'd had to take him to the vet, and it is what it is, and he had a good long life. But it's what she said. She was talking about how the vet, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the vet kind of gave her a heads up of when you'll know it's time, if you need to take him, and if you've ever euthanized an animal, it's very humane. It's not scary at all. It's very peaceful, and sometimes that's what you just have to do. And I didn't have siblings, so my parents compensated with a lot of animals. I've put so many animals down in my life. I'm detached from it. Ken's afraid to get a cold around me because I'll be like, well, we take you to the vet. Time to put you down. I'm just joking. Actually, Debbie did used to make that joke. She was like, you've helped so many other people cross the bridge. I'm afraid to get a cold around you. Stay strong. But what she said was, the vet said, you'll notice, it's like animals make peace with when it's their time. Like elephants go off and hide. They'll, like elephants instinctively know I'm too big for somebody to bury me. I'm going to go, like they just know. They don't fight it. They're not anxious about it. They're like, well, I had a good run. It's time to go. And she said, I think you said, it was just exactly like the vet said. Like he went from 3 cans of food down to 2, and he just stopped eating. And the phrase she said was, he was present all the way to the end. And I thought, that's it. That's what I've been waiting for. Listen to me. Yes, in his presence is fullness of joy. Yes, of course. God is real, whatever your definition of God. I'm not taking that away from you. But just hear me out on this. This seems crazy to me now. A year now is not, as you get older, a year is nothing. Like if somebody says that this will be in a year, I'll be like, it'll be here before you know. When I was a kid, a year took forever. Now it's like, good Lord, that was fast. So I think this was a full 2 years ago. This was before Ken got sick when he was in Daytona. A few weeks, like before that, we'd gone to Panama City. He's been at his place his employment long enough. He could a good bit of vacation time. So he, wants to use it up. And I'm like in a completely different universe than I was 2 years ago. But at that time, my mother, did I ever mention to you that I took care of my mom? And I'm an only child. I don't know. I'm kind of a private person, so I don't know if I ever mentioned it. Anyway, 2 years ago, she was still in the insanely expensive assisted living that is not covered by Medicare. And so I don't know how long she'd been in there. She'd just been there a few months at that point. But I'm doing the math, and I'm thinking, if I'm going to keep her here, I've got to sell this house. And she doesn't want to sell this house, but I'm just going to have to tell her that's the only way I'm going to be able to afford this. And then I start doing the math. She's got a sister who is well up in her 90s and still doesn't show any sign of going. I told my cousins Mark and Dwayne, I said, I think your mom's opted out. I don't think she's. I think she's found a loophole. She's not going. But with Mom, I thought, all right, I was doing the math, and I thought, if I sold this house, I could pay for 5, maybe 6 years there. But if she lives as long, I don't mean to sound brutal about this. I'm just doing the math. I'm like, if she lives as long as Aunt Myrtle did, and her mother did, like, I'll be totally out of money and no place to take her. I can't move her into the loft downtown. Oh, dear Lord Jesus. I can't imagine putting my mom on the elevator and taking her to my loft downtown. Like, no, Mom, that's a homeless man. He's fine. So I thought, at that point, it never occurred to me that I would take her out of there and that I'd be doing this. If you had said, no, 2 years from now, you're going to be living in that house and loving it. Your mom will be on the other side, and you'll be doing, you're not going to be in the theater anymore. You're going to be doing a live podcast, and you're going to bring people to your home. I'd be like, when does the spaceship for Jupiter leave? Because that's never going to happen. There's so many things wrong with that sentence. I'm never going to live in that house. I don't even want to drive in that neighborhood. This is where she is. I've already set her up here and moved her stuff in here. We're going to figure out a way. This will be her portal to the other side. Right. I'm saying all that to say we're in Panama City, and we go to the beach. We never get in the water, but this day we were like out in the water, and it was like this perfect day. Perfect day on the beach. He's totally into it. Ken has the ability to be present. He's wherever he is. Me, not so much. I'm not a worrier, but I'm doing a lot of stuff, so I'm planning constantly. So I'm in the water, and I'm thinking, all right, I've got all those books in the basement. I'm going to have to rent storage space. If I sell that house, I got to just do something with them. What am I going to do with that piano? I guess I'll sell the piano. I'm literally going room by room. What would I do with it? Where would I put this? And I thought about it like the whole afternoon. And suddenly it occurred to me, I'm not even here. My body's in the Gulf of Mexico. My body's in the Gulf of Mexico, but I'm not here. I'm not present. I'm not worried about it, but I'm thinking, I'm figuring it out. What am I going to do? And it wasn't really happy thoughts. It was like, good God, there's so much stuff in that. I have already taken out 2 ginormous dumpsters full of stuff in this house, and I'm about to do a 3rd probably next week. There's a lot. You cannot believe how much stuff was in this house, and I'm responsible for all of it. People say, well, just have an estate sale. It's not that easy. I've got huge walk-in closets full of thousands of crazy outfits that nobody is ever going to wear. And so my point is, we're on vacation-ish, but I'm like, I'm not even here. I'm actually, my brain is totally in that house trying to figure out, maybe I could sell that to so-and-so. And what's that got to do with the cat dying? All right. when she said that last night, I was like, that's it. Yes, in His presence is fullness of joy. May I suggest to you, in my presence is fullness of joy. You hear what I'm saying? You can't have fullness of joy if you're not present. The whole idea of God being attentive, our God is a very present help in time of trouble. God is not distracted. The ear of the Lord is not heavy that He cannot hear, nor His arm short that He cannot save. There's all these, there's not a hair on your head that is not numbered. There's not a sparrow that falls He doesn't see. There's all these ideas that God's looking at you. God's making eye contact with you. You're making your petitions to God. God's not on His phone halfway listening to you. You know how that is. I don't know if other married people are like this, but I'm married to somebody who many times will say, hey, that guy's grandfather is so-and-so. I'm like, I just told you that 30 minutes ago. What did you think I was talking about? He said, oh, I didn't know this. I said, that's what I just said. That's like, I'm like, put your phone down and listen to me. But I can't really say that because I do the same thing. But we need to know, like, is God looking at me? When Judah was little, he hates when I tell this story. When Judah was little, he started talking. He would start telling a story, like a long, tedious, detailed story, like a year-and-a-half-old or 2-year-old would tell. And it would take him forever to get to the point. And he wanted your undivided attention when he's telling it to you. And he'd be in his car seat, and I'd be like, okay, buddy, but I heard you, but then what? Now you got to start the whole thing over because you didn't listen. You got to turn the radio. I mean, he kind of got it from me, I suppose. But, he would, his mother, Debbie, was infinitely patient with him. But I remember he didn't call her mommy, he called her Monty. And like if she was busy doing something, it was like, money, 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 money. She's like, what, Judah, what? And well, don't say that. Because now you got to start him all. We got to hit the reset button. So we just learned, like, nope, let him tell it. Because if you try to rush him through, he knows you're rushing him through, and he's going to make you pay. You got to listen to it all from the beginning, because he wanted us to be present. There's not a lot of presence, and we do it too. Like if we're in a restaurant, I'm on my phone too. But you look around and you think nobody's talking to each other. Like they're all sitting there engaged in something. They're not present. That's why a lot of schools now are not letting kids bring their devices in because they're too distracted. I pray that you feel the impact of this, because when we talk. When you said the cat was present, the cat accepted its reality as much as he could know. That was the point of what you were saying. He wasn't anxious about it. He was, this is the way it is. He was there. The reason you vibrate on a low frequency is you're too distracted. It's all about regrets from the past or projecting into the future. What's going to happen? What's going to happen tomorrow? Why else do you think, all that Matthew chapter 6 where Jesus says, consider the lilies, go sit in a field and look at a flower, and they don't toil or spin. And he ends it by saying, take no thought for tomorrow, sufficient unto the day is the evil there. In other words, you can't vibrate in the fullness of joy until you realize you are seated in heavenly places already. And if you're distracted by, I wish this was different, how am I going to make this better? I mean, Scripture says godliness with contentment is great gain. until you get to the place that you're like, no, this is what's happening today, and I'm good with it. And if there's something I can do to make it better, I will make it better tomorrow. But as of today, I'm going to be good with this so that I can vibrate at my highest my highest potential for joy. Because this is what I'm beginning to believe. Maybe I do believe this. No, I do believe this. Proverbs 12:13. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. There's something about protracted disappointment. You know, here's all these horrible things that have happened to me, and you don't realize you're keeping them alive because you keep talking about them, you keep energizing them. Your body and the universe thinks that's what you want to happen because you keep talking about it. The universe doesn't make a judgment call on you shouldn't be talking about this now that, Proverbs says where the word of a king is, there's authority. So God or your angels, whatever your perception is, just assumes, oh, that must be what you want because that's what you're talking about. If you're complaining about how much debt you're in all the time, you know what you're sending out? I like debt. I like talking about debt. Debt is good. Why? Because I'm talking about it all the time. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Whatever you're talking about all the time, the forces that be, or the powers that be, assume that must be what you want to happen. That's why we have the concept of calling those things which are not as though they are. That's why I also believe, I think there's a time for venting. I think there's a time for getting it all out. I think if therapy is what you need, go for it. I have no issue with counseling. I do think there is a time where there's nothing else you can say about it, and now it's time just to tell a different story. Like once you finally, vomited it all out of your mentality, then there comes a time, and you'll know it when it's your time, you're like, you know what, I don't need to talk about that anymore. I've made peace with that. And what? I'm present. Let me tell you something. Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants attention. Everybody wants to be approved of. Those are very natural human needs. Don't ever feel guilty for that. Also, do not predicate your joy on that. You understand? It's like, yes, I would love for you to like me, and I will be fine if you don't. If you don't keep that I will be fine if you don't clause all the time, you'll never vibrate at the fullness of joy. You'll never fully realize that you're seated in heavenly places. Why? Because you're asking somebody else permission for you to have joy. Tell me I'm okay so I can feel good about myself. Baby, you got to feel good about yourself whether anybody gets it or not. Jesus was the master at that. That's why I wish, it's fine if you want to worship Jesus. I would rather people start following Jesus. Jesus never asked anybody to worship him. He did say, why don't you follow me? Let me show you my example. And those Pharisees could not get inside his head. Just couldn't do it. How do you know so much about Abraham? You're not even 35 years old. Before Abraham was, I am. Yeah, well, they killed him for it. Well, yes and no. He said, no man takes my life, I lay it down. They come to him in the 18th chapter of John, where is Jesus of Nazareth? He says, I am. They all fall backwards to the ground. That was his way of saying, I'm going to go with y'all. I'm going to let you tie my hands, and you can do your cross thing, but you need to understand you're playing by my script. I'm not a martyr. I'm going to do this. If there's any way let this cup pass from me, I'm not doing this to appease an angry sky god, but this is what's going to happen. So I'll do it, but it's not because y'all got to me. Satan has come to me, but he has nothing in me. That's why, meditation's just kind of a part of my, it's a small percentage of what I talk about. When we go to these meditation weekends, I mean, the last one we went on, I don't think we ever meditated. We did everything but that. I dedicated babies. I served communion. I baptized people. I did everything but join the assemblies of God. But the point of meditation, for people that are really into actual transcendental meditation, the goal is to get to a place where you become so inward that there's nothing external that can affect you at all. And there's some validity to that. I have my own issues about Christianity. I think Christianity is the worst thing that ever happened to Jesus. But whatever Christianity is, it's an Eastern religion. It's supposed to be. It came out of an Eastern mindset, meaning ideas like Zen and being very focused. And my God, I was raised in so much spiritual warfare and fighting with the devil, and every Wednesday night was people giving not glory to God, but telling, the devil's fought me all week. Y'all just pray that some kind of way I'll prevail. And now I realize all you people were making that happen. Yes. You were prolonging that because you got addicted to the drama.
Yes. Correct.
You know what's more addictive than crystal meth or crack cocaine? The hormones of stress. You get so addicted, your nervous system gets so addicted to living in that stress, and so much of it is self-imposed. It's decisions you've made, and now you're living in that. So when you have a moment where you think everything's fine, just relax, stop over there, you don't even feel like yourself. How could everything be fine? It can't be fine. I gotta do stuff. I gotta fix stuff. I gotta, that's the way my life is. I'm type A. People, we weren't meant to live that way. If you believe the Adam and Eve narrative, where were they put? They were put in a garden. You're supposed to be with nature. You're supposed to walk around naked outside. I mean, be careful where you do it, but you understand what I'm saying? It's like, the point is, what did Jesus say? Stop worrying about what you're going to wear and what you're going to eat. That was the primal. Was Kitten worried about what he was going to wear, what he was going to eat? No. He lived his life. He had a good run. He's like, Kitten out. Do you hear what I'm saying? You will show me the path of life in your I could say in our presence. It's God being present, but it's me being present. I'm here. I'm in this room. And then the third thing he says in that verse 11 of Psalm 16, he says, at your right hand are pleasures forevermore. I came out of the Pentecostal movement. And the Pentecostals were great. They were fun until they got mixed up with the holiness people. And the holiness people were just a colossal buzzkill. Even yesterday, and what I'm about to say, I am not Islamophobic in any way. Just hear me out. He was working in the yard. I was doing some stuff in the house, I said, what was that salad you used to like? We used to eat at Nuke's. I'm going to order from there. So he told me. So I order Uber Eats. And the woman that brought it to me, I mean, yesterday was hot. It was a hot day. And she drives up in a black burqa in her car, her burqa, you know, because I'm not allowed to see her face. And again, no disrespect to her religion. I respect Islam. Jesus referred to God as Allah. I get all of that. I'm definitely not a Zionist. You know, I have Israel totally in perspective in my head. I'm just, you know, but I looked at this woman. I'm assuming she had air conditioning in her car, but I'm thinking how hot it is. And I just wanted to say, sweetheart, there's no big man in the sky that's wanting you to wear this on a day that's nearly 100 degrees. Like, I mean, if you're doing this out of some homage to your culture, I respect that, namaste. But I think what I know is you think God was requiring this of you. And this is completely made up. This is something that, I'm sorry, but the Abrahamic religions were based so much on misogyny. I mean, they just were. Abraham said the way to the covenant is male circumcision. You got to have male anatomy to even be part of the covenant. How do women get it? Well, you better marry a man. He's already got 13 wives. Is what it is. Be present. And you know, in the Pentecostal church I grew up in, the men, at least our brand of Pentecostalism, had no restrictions of what men wore. I don't think men, when I was growing up, could wear shorts and stuff. But the men, like, if you saw some of those men in their suits or whatever, they looked like regular businessmen. But the women definitely looked different. Yeah. You could tell, like, no makeup and don't cut their hair, and you know, there's a style. And each branch of Pentecostalism, I remember back in the day, I could tell who was who. Like, oh, they're apostolic. They've got to be Jesus only. That's like each brand had their own legalism, all of which was insane. In the denomination I grew up, now that denomination has actually progressed now, but my mom could pin a brooch on her dress and that would be fine. She could go to church, she could play the organ, nobody would say anything. If she took that same pendant and put it on a chain around her neck, my dad could lose his job. That sounds insane. But buddy, I can remember churches my dad would pastor, when the board meetings would come out, the men would be in fistfights over stupid issues like that. What Jesus called straining at gnats and swallowing camels. And all this stuff that people think. Well, Ro, you were raised Roman Catholic. So much of that is about mea culpa and, you know, self-flagellation and constantly, you know, I'm a good Catholic girl. That means I love God and God hates me. You know, and there's and the Jewish joke is, you know, I have Jewish guilt. I feel good. And all this stuff, it's not coming from this person that we call God. In his presence is fullness of joy, and at his right hand are pleasures. When I was growing up in the Pentecostal church, anything that smacked of being pleasurable was considered a sin. I remember, and this wasn't coming from my dad, he was just towing the party line. That's what you had to do. But I remember when we, again, it's different now, but in the Church of God that I was raised in, we later became Assembly of God, and it was a little more liberal. But when people would join, my dad would take in members of the church every Sunday, and when people would join, he would read a thing. So, like, you had to, some of it was based on Scripture, and some of it was just stuff they threw in. We believe men should have short hair, women should have long hair. We do not believe in the wearing of unnecessary jewelry. We do not believe in the joining of lodges. Because back then in the 60s, it was like the Kiwanis Club and the Lions Club, and that was considered a sin. Like, it was a bunch of stuff that you don't even have a scriptural precedent for it. It's just pleasurable, so it must be wrong. Because if it feels good, it can't be from God. I mean, how telling is it that Jesus' first miracle was providing the booze at a party? Doesn't that seem completely unnecessary? Like, Jesus, you should be healing blind people. It's already the end of the wedding. These people are already 3 sheets to the wind. Isn't that the word? Is that the word? I'm Pentecostal. I don't know. Like, it's so what? So what? They're out of wine. They drunk it all up. They don't need any more. Jesus doesn't just turn a bottle. He says, all right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. They fill up nearly 200 gallons of water at the end of a party, and he turns it all into wine and makes it good. Like the steward of the house says, I can't believe you saved the best for last. And Jesus is like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. That seemed like, Jesus, do all these people have designated drivers? This is a lot of wine that you provided at this party. I'm not suggesting you drive drunk. I have a son who's going through recovery. I'm very aware of that. What I'm saying is, Jesus got invited to a lot of parties. This seems so crazy to me now. But when I was in high school, back then I was trying to get everybody saved. I thought, the rapture is going to take place any minute, and I'm trying to get people saved. If I can get a lot of people saved, God won't notice that I'm gay. I mean, I wish that weren't really the motivation, but it kind of is. Yeah. It's kind of like, this, that's not going away. I don't act on it, but it's not going away. So I'm going to get a lot of people saved. I'm not saying it was just because of that, but that had a lot to do with it. And I can remember, because I had a lot of friends. I was even telling somebody last night, when I was in school, in high school, y'all still with me? Am I going too long? See, I'm present. So when I was in high school, this to me would seem, over the top now, but I used to carry a big Bible every day, and it was sit on top of my books on my desk. So everybody, it was a statement piece. And I had a big Bible study at lunch, and, that's what I did. And every year when people would sign my yearbook, there would always be several people that say, hey, dear Jimmy, thank you. You led me to Christ. And a lot of times it'd be people like, when did I do that? But okay. So, I mean, in my mentality at that time, I salted the earth and lit the world. And I had this prayer list in the front cover of my Bible. If anybody asked for prayer, I would write your name in there and say, I'll keep you in there. And I took it seriously. I would pray over those. And one day, I had my friends I wasn't in a clique. I had jock friends and freak friends, and they're all over the map. But this guy, I'd never really met him before. I knew he was on the football team. I don't think he was the quarterback, but he was kind of a big deal on our football team. One day I'm sitting in homeroom. He makes a beeline to my desk, and he looks kind of, if not angry, intentional. And he goes, are you that guy with the prayer list? And I'm like, yeah, why? And he said, put me on that. I was like, okay, what is your name, sir? And, but, so, I mean, I had lots of friends, but I never got invited to parties. Like, nobody ever invited me to parties. And I never could understand it. And then years later, it occurred to me, you're kind of a buzzkill. For better or for worse, these underage people are trying to get their drink on. And I'm like, if you die tonight, where would you spend eternity? It never occurred to me, because I'm like, Yeah, but I'm fine. Well, for people that ain't trying to hear that right now, that's not what we want to hear. You want the guy that, bringing in bottles, like, woohoo! Not bringing it like every head bowed, every eye closed. While they're playing Just As I Am. Like, that's and it seems so obvious to me now. I'm like, Jesus, why didn't you tell me that? Jesus is like, I don't know. I was at the party. I didn't know where you were. I was hanging out with all the fun people. I'm going to read you this one quote, and then I'll be done. The philosophical meaning of finding the path of life is the path of life symbolizes your individual destiny, character development, and the lifelong process of uncovering who you are and what you are meant to contribute to the world. And then this quote by Kenneth Schmidt says, the subject of quantum physics is identifying the smallest parts of an entity and understanding its nature and its part in the whole of existence. In every case, we come to the understanding that there is no objective world that we perceive except for the conceptions inside of our minds. We are all collectively dreaming together the empirical realm. We collectively hold the fundamental energies and the frequencies of the electromagnetic wave patterns that we perceive. The quality of our experience is created in our consciousness. Did y'all ever read back in the 90s, The Far Side, Gary Larson? I was a huge fan. And there was one of my favorite cartoons. It was like these two devils in hell. And there's a guy, he's got a wheelbarrow and he's whistling like he's having a good time. And one of the devils says to the other, he says, I just don't think we're getting through to that guy. And I love that because, even David said, the word got translated hell. He said, if I make my bed in hell, it's really the Sheol, which means the unseen. But he's basically saying, there's no place I can go that you're not present. You're with me. I'm just going to leave you with this. Fullness of joy is available to you. And if you're not, even today, if you're sitting here going, today would have been great if just so-and-so. Like, I'm sorry Lee got sick. I wish he could have been here today. But we have to say, well, you know what? You came. And I'm glad you did. Because when you first texted me, I was like, you're seriously not coming today? And he said, no, I'm coming as scheduled. My husband is in urgent care. But I'm coming. I'm like, damn straight you're coming.
I know the risks.
You tell him take up his bed and walk. And what I'm saying is everybody that's here today is here because you're supposed to be. Everybody's watching today. You needed this message, and you did. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to put a comma, and we'll leave it right there. I'll open up for discussion in just 1 second. We'll go offline in a minute. Are you going to play my outro?
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. You can give any time using any smartphone. Text the amount you'd like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishopthenow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
You already heard about how to give, so thank you for doing that, those of you who support Metron Community. Also remember, we got Meditation Weekend number 29 coming up first week, end of August. So I'm hoping many of you will be there. I want you to vibrate in your highest possible frequency of joy. In His presence, in your presence is fullness of joy. Be present today, and you're going to have a wonderful. Love you. See you next week. Peace. All right. Good.